Good morning and welcome to Atheist Talk on KTNF, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Good morning to all of you joining us locally by radio and streaming online. We appreciate you tuning in. Today is Sunday, January 13th, 2019, and I'm your host, Hertzy Hertz. I'm here in studio with Maddie, and via Skype we have Luciano from the Thought Train and the Benito Juarez podcasts. This is an open conversation, and we welcome and encourage listener interaction with your phone calls to 952-946-6205, your emails to radio@mnatheist.org, tweet us at atheisttalk, or check out the Facebook page Atheist Talk. The phone number is only available when we are live, but you can always check out the email, tweet us, or look us up on Facebook, whether you're listening live or listening to the podcast afterwards. Anime. An animated cartoon for both children and adults. Some of it is really just for adults. Started coming over to America in about the 1980s and has become a phenomenon in geek culture. With that, of course, has been all sorts of interpretations of life in different cultures, including the Western religions. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Luciano, Maddie, good morning and welcome to Atheist Talk.
I'm so happy I could be here today.
Ditto.
Yes. Yeah, you and I talked about this, a couple weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we started talking, because there's a lot of animes that do kind of touch on Western culture in general, but Western religion specifically.
I think it makes a lot of sense because even though these religious beliefs aren't super common in Asia, they're definitely prevalent, and there's plenty of opportunities for people to learn about them because they've been so incorporated into Western media and into Western culture that you kind of see them everywhere.
The joys of colonialism. Please note there's at least some sarcasm in that statement.
Some?
Point. All right, so I have to bring up my absolute favorite on this, which is the Black Butler series. I'm guessing you've seen that one.
I'm aware of Black Butler, although I'm more familiar with Blue Exorcist.
Oh, Blue Exorcist is another good one. Well, one thing I love about Black Butler, and hopefully not too many spoilers on this for those who are interested in watching these, is the butler is a demon. That's pretty much kind of told up front. And then there's this whole question of who's the good guy at some point, the angel or the demon? And that's where it kind of gets spoilery. And so it's you really can't say anything, but and that's one thing I like about Japanese looking at this is for them, the idea of a demon is not always a bad guy. Oftentimes there's a lot more complications with that. What's your take?
It's really nice to see a sort of blending of different religious beliefs and different practices, because that's often what happens when we see let's say priests in anime and manga. Oftentimes their roles are subsidized and fused into the roles of I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, but I'm going to do my best, ominojis, which are practitioners of an ancient, not quite religion, but an ancient supernatural practice that used to be commonplace in Japan. And it was a fusion of Taoist beliefs along with native Japanese Shinto beliefs. And among the roles of the practitioners of this beliefs, they would go around exorcising demons, they would travel helping people, they would use supernatural abilities, and that belief has been fused with the role of Catholic priests, especially, although not all priests in, let's say, manga and anime are necessarily Catholic, although a good number of them are.
Yeah, and one thing is the priests in anime are totally butt-kicking priests. It's actually kind of fun to watch.
Like Friar Tuck type priests, but without the drinking?
And sometimes with the drinking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sometimes with the drinking, sometimes with gun smuggling, drug use.
Oh, dirty old man syndrome. They're definitely more rounded than what we see in Western culture when people see, because so often you see a priest and it's it's this pillar of goodness. And you go to to the anime and you see a priest, and it's a very flawed person.
I feel like that's almost like a more accurate representation of the people that are priests. Whereas like with American culture, it's like we so often view them as like, no, these are like morally idealistic people.
And in some cases, the priests are the bad guys too. Like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, what's that one with the vampire?
Is it maybe Helsing?
Yeah, I was gonna say because I know it's Alucard.
Yeah, that's Helsing.
Yep. Yeah.
In another, oh sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
In another, in an isekai one, which is one where like the main character is someone from Earth who either gets reincarnated or otherwise transported to another world, named The Rising of the Shield Hero. There is a whole arc where the antagonist is the leader, who's often addressed as the Pope in English translations, of a religion that's very much like Catholicism, but like they avoid making it too obvious. They don't want to be too explicit and being like, yo, the Christians are kind of the bad guys.
Yeah, sorry, going back to Helsing for just a second. The interesting part about that one is it actually goes Protestant versus Catholic in that one, where you actually go really for the Protestants because Helsing is pretty cool. Alucard specifically is awesome. So which one is your favorite, Luciano?
I think that one of the most interesting ones that I've ever seen, and it really sucks because like it's really minor in this specific one. There's an anime called Akame ga Kill, where one of the characters, a really minor character in like the actual plot of the anime, but like a pretty major character in the world, is a leader of a church. And he's this is going to be minor spoilery, but like he has supernatural abilities, and unlike the other characters who have supernatural abilities, his are like in his DNA. It's like genetic because he's half human and half like monster. And what it is like he can heal people, he can see the future. His religion is very obviously based off of Christianity, but he's a super cool guy. And the role of the character in the plot is to be protected because if he's killed, then the bad guys are going to be able to control his religion.
So it sounds like in some of these, and I'm very ignorant about anime. I like anime, but I don't watch much TV, let alone specific niches of TV. But it sounds like they have, like, you can have, like when we argue, like in reality about, hey, Christianity can't be real if, like, this other religion is real too because they're mutually exclusive. But it sounds like in a lot of these anime stories, Christianity can be just as real, or at least their interpretation of Christianity, as all of these other religions too. So, like, he can have all these, like, godlike powers, but somebody else can have all these godlike powers from a different deity.
Yeah.
Is that kind of how?
In a lot of cases, the way that it works is like priests especially have supernatural abilities that are granted to them by their deities. It's almost like D&D. I don't know if like you guys have played D&D, but the way the cleric class, yeah,
yes,
no.
The way the cleric class, which is just the priest class in D&D works, is like you swear an oath to a specific deity, and in most editions of D&D, you swear an oath to a specific deity, and that deity grants you powers. And it's a lot like that, honestly.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a pantheistic kind of.
Yeah.
Now, does their Christian God know that he's not the only one? Has anybody broke the news to him? Do you think?
There are some where like the god of Christianity or like the monarch of Christianity, whatever creature is like lording over the religion, is aware that it's not like the only one. And there's also some where like the powers seem to come from nowhere, which is always really weird.
Yeah, I was gonna say sometimes like with Black Butler, they really don't go into like the hierarchy of some of that stuff. Like God and Satan are just kind of background, like they exist.
Right.
Obviously, they kind of exist because there's angels and demons, but they don't do anything.
But how much fun would that be to see a story where like the God of Christianity is granting this cleric, priest, whatever powers, and like they think they're the only ones, and like their bubble gets burst. It's like, oh my God, this other this other deity is alive too. I'm not the only one. I think that'd be hilarious.
Okay, you need to either find the comic book priest or start watching the TV show. that kind of happens
Priest.
in that
Is that
story.
the Preacher show?
Oh, yeah, Preacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard it's fantastic. And is it based off anime?
It's based off of a comic book.
Okay.
So, I mean, we could still technically talk about it.
Okay, so this is my ignorance. What is manga?
Manga.
Is that like comic book anime? Or anime like in a comic book form? Or?
Manga is Japanese. It's Japanese comic books, to describe it in like the simplest way.
Okay.
Yeah, and usually animes are based off of manga, although there have been cases where like something like a video game would get a manga or would get an anime first and then get a manga. And like some of the ones that we think of, like some of the more popular ones that talk about Christianity and like Jesus and God, like Disgaea, where God is a minor character and some of the antagonists are actually angels, were originally video games before they got animes and mangas.
Yeah.
So when they're talking about Christianity and say Jesus or whatever, is this just an American translation? Or like is the author like specifically thinking about, you know, their interpretation or whatever, like how Jesus is in their culture?
I would argue that it's sometimes like either or, because since there's so many animes and mangas out there, like it really just depends on whether or not the author is like a believer or someone who's like actually aware of the tenets of Christianity. Because in a lot of cases, like what it often is there's like something above, like it's fusing different beliefs basically.
All right, and we're going to have to go through the break, but please stay with us and we'll return to Atheist Talk with Luciano and Maddie talking about anime and Western religion. Welcome back to AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. You're tuned in to Atheist Talk, and I'm your host, Hertzie Hertz, talking here with Luciano and Maddie. Atheist Talk is produced with funding from Minnesota Atheists and Cucumbers Restaurant in Edina, Minnesota. Please consider visiting our sponsors, and if you do, let them know that you appreciate their support of Atheist Talk. If you'd like to advertise on the program and help keep us on the air, please contact us at radio@mnatheist.org. As for the here and now, if you'd like to get involved in the conversation with Maddie, Luciano, and myself this morning, you can call us at 952-946-6205, email us at radio@mnatheist.org, or tweet us at Atheist Talk, or you can use our Facebook. You know, I'm kind of glad we don't have an Instagram and stuff because, I mean, honestly, just kind of...
That would be fun, except we don't do enough like pictures with our guests and things like that, mostly because most of our guests aren't here, so it'd just be pictures of like me or you. Or
I have a face for radio, let's say that.
Yes, and I was told, one of our previous guests, David Gammon, he's like, yes, you have a face for radio and a voice for silent movies or something like that. It was so good. And obviously he was teasing, but it was like, oh, that's really funny.
Oh, David.
At least I think he was teasing.
He was teasing. Yeah, it was good.
I hope so.
I can't see why
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Luciano, just so you know, David Gammett is a mentalist who we've had on the station a couple of times. He's also a skeptic. So,
and he did our winter solstice dinner. Oh my gosh, that was so awesome.
Yes. Yeah. I think both Maddie and I have spoons that he's either bent, broken, or twisted.
Yes, like I'm out of spoons now, which is weird. So I have a question. Can I ask a follow up question to the one I asked right for the break that was almost like too long before our break question?
As long as you remind me what that question was.
That's okay. So what I'm curious about is we've talked a lot about like Christianity pervading into anime, or anime having aspects of Christianity in it. Is it like, I'm obviously looking at this from a white American point of view. Are there like, does anime have other aspects besides traditional Japanese religious aspects? Or other aspects from other cultures, religions that get like brought into it as well?
I can think of a handful of examples. Like, I'm hoping that I'm understanding your question right, and I feel like the next thing I'm going to say is going to confirm or deny that. I can think of, like, Lilith from Jewish mythology and Jewish beliefs being an antagonist in some animes and in some mangas. I know that, like, in a lot of cases, like in Supernatural, which is not an anime or manga, but, like, Lilith is a popular character in, like, Western media. And she has a few examples in, like, Asian media and in manga and anime as well.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering. Like, there's Jesus is there, but what about, like, Allah, or what about... And I guess I don't know where you like. Is it Hinduism isn't huge in Japan? So are there aspects of like Shiva or the Bhagavad Gita like getting incorporated into that kind of thing too? Because there's a rich tapestry of other cultures of religious beliefs that you could bring into anything.
Oh yeah, well, and, I mean, just not too far away is China, and China has massive stories that are just absolutely fabulous. Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball Z as much, but the original Dragon Ball actually does take on, and I don't know if that one is Japanese or Chinese now that I think about it, but it does take on kind of the story of the Monkey King. So I know that one. I can't think of too many examples of things like Hinduism or even many other Eastern religions going in. How about you?
So I can think of, like, one of the big examples that I can think of is there's a manga. I don't believe it ever got an anime, and I can't remember its name off the top of my head. I'm going to Google it later on, and I'm going to, like, write it down so that people can check it out. But it's about, like, the competition between the gods, and it's a very literal, like, fight between champions selected by gods from different parts of the world. If I remember correctly, it was Egyptian, Japanese, Norse, Aztec, and I think it was either Christianity or Islam, and like they selected champions to like actually physically fight. It was really neat, but it got like canceled really quickly for some reason. I can think of like monsters from different mythologies popping in like different animes and mangas just as like minor antagonists, but nothing like huge.
No, but now that you mention it, Norse mythology I know has at least come in a couple of times. Though at least one of those is not appropriate for radio conversation.
Well, and there was a game that I'm a big fan of, a podcast called Monster Talk. In fact, we're going to have one of the co-hosts, Karen Stalsno, on in a few weeks. But they were behind this board game called Playing Gods, where like it was a board game and you picked which god or which deity you were going to play as you moved around the game. Oh, and they had like a Buddha and they were all very sacrilegious. The one I remember is like Bodhisattva, like the traditional like large belly Buddha, which is not indicative of all Buddhas. Anyway, but that Buddha had like a Gatling gun, and every single one of these images was sacrilegious in its own way.
What was the name of the game?
Playing Gods.
Is it a board game or a video game?
It was a board game.
There are video games with similar premises, which is probably what you're thinking of.
Well, no, I think I think I might have that board game.
You should bring it in so we could play it sometime.
Patreon episode. I'm not going to say goal because we haven't gotten that far with our Patreon, despite the fact that it's been up for a while. Yay, volunteer run.
There's a really friendly manga that I'm pretty sure has an anime, but I might be wrong. I think its name is like Jesus and Buddha Are Neighbors. And in it, it's like Jesus and Buddha are literally neighbors living in the modern world. And it's just like their buddy cop adventures. It's like a really friendly, really like affirming introduction to like religion if you are a non-theist, which is often the case in places like Japan and in South Korea.
Nice. So I don't want to turn completely, but I do want to look at things where religion is less of a major active piece, but like almost a side note. And I know we don't have any of these in the notes that we were writing up, but I'm throwing it out there. But like, I know Yu-Gi-Oh! I think had some of this, and Cardcaptor Sakura had this, where every so often people were like, well, I'm just going to pray. And that always kind of made me just go, hey, wait a minute.
What are you praying to?
Well, yeah, because a lot of times, yes, there were magical powers in here. And in Yu-Gi-Oh!, you had the ancient powers of the ancient Egyptian stuff. But it was always like, wait, is this Christian or is this something else?
I always think that's really funny because, like, one example I can think of is in Tokyo Mew Mew, which, like, a lot of people don't think of anymore, but I remember when I was growing up, because I'm 24, when I was growing up, like, it was fairly popular in Latin America, and it wasn't that popular in the United States, which was really weird, but, like, one of the characters is a Christian, and it's confirmed in both the manga and in the anime that she, like, prays to God, and she, like, is a believer. And I think that there's a point where other characters are just like, yeah, talk about that a little bit, because like we don't know that much about it.
Well, we are going to have to talk more about this when we return after the break with our guests, Luciano and Maddie. Please stay with us. I'm Hertzie Hertz, and you're listening to Atheist Talk on KTNF AM 950. Good morning, and welcome back to Atheist Talk on AM 950 KTNF. I'm your host, Hertzie Hertz, and we're having what I would classify as a fascinating conversation with Maddie and Luciano. If you'd like to get involved in the conversation, this morning you can call us at 952-946-6205, email us at radio@mnatheist.org, or tweet us at @atheisttalk, or check out our Facebook. Before we continue the conversation, there's a bit of housekeeping I need to attend to. I want to note that our group of dedicated volunteers and the generous donations of you, our listeners, you help keep Atheist Talk on the air and in podcast form. I also want to note our dedicated donor, which is... No, we don't. Oh.
No, I'm sorry.
Sad.
Yeah, we didn't have any dedicated donors this week. But I did see we had some new patrons.
We did?
Yeah.
Did I miss that?
Or not new, but they had edited their pledge to increase it. Isn't that awesome?
Art. Thank you for increasing your pledge to us. We'll eventually get tiers to make that, potential.
Wait, I was thinking, why would we cry? Not those kind of tears.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, different kind of tears, like a cake.
Yes.
We get more
A
cake.
delicious cake.
Very. I actually got cake pans to make more cake. Back to this, though. If you'd like to donate, you can do so at our Radio Fund page or our Patreon, where you can get extended interviews at www.patreon.com/atheisttalk, and maybe even cake if you're local. Minnesota Atheist is a 501c3 tax-deductible organization. We couldn't do this show without you, and we deeply, deeply appreciate your support. Music for Atheist Talk is by composer and member Brent Michael Davis and is used with permission. Please note all our opinions are the guest and host only and do not necessarily reflect the Minnesota Atheist organization, especially because I don't know how many people on the board watch anime aside from myself.
No, but it's always good to open yourself up to new experiences, and it's also good. One of the things I was talking to my wife about last night about this subject, she's like, it's not really my thing, and I'm like, I don't know. A, I like anime even though I don't watch it, but B, like, Minnesota Atheist isn't comprised, and atheists in general, they're not just a bunch of old bearded white dudes. Like, we have a diverse, a segment of the population.
Like, I'm actually thinking of the board. There's about 8 of us, I think. And I'll be honest, there is not a single beard.
See? It's like the concept that people have, like, oh, everybody in Minnesota Atheist is this old person.
Yeah, and
it's like that's not accurate.
And I was going to say, I think the meeting, because we actually were doing some work on this, or not work, but like we were thinking about it last board meeting. I think the median age is somewhere between 40 and 35 now for board right. members. So again, there's only like 8 of us. And it's at least half women. So
it's not. I was about to swear. Isn't that awesome? Well, because I'm so excited. Because that makes me really excited.
I was going to say we can do some more stuff, Maddie, if you're interested.
This is my first time on.
I know, and Luciano, if you want to move to Minnesota.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I mean, it's way better than the East Coast.
You were talking about snow. I mean, we have not gotten snow. It's driven me nuts.
We've got like 1 or maybe 2 snowfalls.
And most of it, and it was rain too.
And it was gone the next day.
I know, it's weird. But yeah, there's a decent amount of snow in Minnesota. Do you like snow? And
this is what we do in Minnesota.
I like the snow. The thing I don't like about the snow is, one, I'm a grad student, but I'm online, so I have to go to class anyway. And also, like, I work for the American Humanist Association. I'm an intern. I'm worried about being able to go to work tomorrow because I live in a military base. And, like, it's going to be difficult for me to get to the bus since it's snowing. Like, it's snowing right now.
Like, how much snow are you expected to get?
We were expected to get between, I think, like 5 to 7 inches. I might be wrong, but that was what my mom told me yesterday.
So
and I don't normally pay attention to the weather.
Oh, we're going to be Minnesotans are terribly patronizing when it comes to snow. So I'd like to apologize.
I mean,
for the patronizing.
If you think that's an average snow depth, that's fine.
Yep.
I prefer my snow depths longer.
That's deeper than where I'm from. Like, one, I was raised in Latin America, but I was born in North Carolina.
Oh,
and, like,
wow.
I went to college in Greensboro. We get a bunch of snow each year, but it's not usually this deep. Usually it's, like, only 2 to 3 inches.
Yeah, I was going to say, depending on the year, it can be anywhere from at least a foot to, I mean, I've seen drifts like 6, even in the cities.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, maybe not drifts, but it's like that's usually after the plows have gone through. But
how can you tell this is Minnesota Atheists? Because we're talking about the weather.
it's so true. It's so true. Oh, and here's the thing. If you ever come to Minnesota, which you totally should, definitely don't ask about the winter of 91. We all have stories.
That's like, where were we during the JFK assassination? I don't know. But during the blizzard of 91, I can tell you exactly where I was.
I was not born during the first one. But...
No, some of us are older. Okay. I also wasn't, but that's beside the point.
But yeah.
I wasn't born either, so.
Wait, yeah.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure even Hunter's got a story about 91.
Hunter's not old enough either.
Let's see, I was 3.
Yeah.
I don't remember it.
Great.
I know it happened, but...
Now I'm feeling old.
Good. haven't seen you this animated in a while. Sorry, I've been waiting the entire day to use that.
That was a bad pun. I like it, but
there is no such thing as a good pun. You just have to accept that they're all bad and go from there.
I like puns.
You and I would get along very well.
We have another punner.
No, I was saying that like all puns are bad puns.
Yes, because they are. You just have to accept it. Then move on and tell them anyway.
I love puns. I don't know what y'all are talking about.
You can like puns and still acknowledge that they're bad.
No,
well,
true.
because we were talking about religion and anime, puns actually have a very deep religious background. Because there was a time when if you didn't know how to pun, you were not considered intelligent enough because you needed to know that words had double meanings. I'm just saying.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I don't agree with it, but like I could see as a like I studied history in undergrad, and I could see why it is that people in the past would be like, yeah.
I've read 2 really good books on the history of puns linguistically, and it's amazing. It wasn't until like the 1800s, late 1800s or so, that punning started to like become a lower form of humor. Before that, it was just that was like a higher. Now, obviously I enjoy this point of view because as somebody who puns way too much, it makes me look better. So I realize the bias, the inherent bias there. But there's a great book called The Pun Also Rises. I forgot who wrote it. He was a speechwriter for Obama that wrote it. But he's also won like world pun competitions and stuff like that.
Patreon episode.
Anyway, I'm sorry to like distract you from religion and anime.
No, that's fine. All right. Yeah. So back to the religion and anime for the next 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So one of the ones that we talked about earlier was the Blue Exorcist. Like the one thing we haven't really talked about is the plot line for a lot of these. And that one I think is kind of a fun one as far as plot goes. Do you want to talk about that?
So I haven't seen too much of Black Exorcist, but my understanding... Blue Exorcist.
Okay.
Is that not... Did I miss here?
Potentially.
Wait, is there one anime called Blue Exorcist and one called Black Exorcist?
Well, I know there's one called Gray Exorcist, I think.
Oh my gosh. Is this are they all in the same series?
No.
Okay.
Blue Exorcist talks about Christianity quite a lot, though.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, that's part of the reason I know about it. But in Blue Exorcist, the main characters are, like, Christian exorcists. And they roam around the world exorcising demons. And I've read a couple of chapters, and I've only seen, I think, the first 2 episodes of the anime. But that gives you enough of, an understanding to know that it's, an exploration of the world. And if you're talking about it from, a religious point of view, then it's basically what Christianity looks like to outsiders.
And I was going to say, it actually gets even better, because I've seen the entire series. Because the brothers are sons of Satan. Yes, and that's where the whole thing of and they do actually have some of the more Japanese demons in there, because there's this cat demon that shows up, and it's very obviously not a Christian demon. But then they really kind of go into Satan as a more complicated character again, because Satan possesses this young woman and actually falls in love with her and is kind of like considers maybe even being more of a good guy and stuff. And then of course something happens that pisses him off. And puts him back on the whole bad guy train. But again, it's a more complicated character than just than what the Christian Western religion gives us, which really isn't much of a character if you think about it.
Something that's really neat about like a lot of anime and manga featuring like one super powerful like dark overlord, one Satan-esque character, is often that like because of the medium of manga and anime, and also because of like cultural influences, you can see the demon lords being like complex characters. And oftentimes with like Western religions, evil is depicted as this like all-powerful thing that's overpowering, and like if something's evil, it's only evil. Whereas like with anime and manga, you can see antagonists be complex.
I know. It's one of those where that's one of the reasons I love anime, is because of how complex it can get, which is also part of the reason I would state that if you're getting into anime and stuff, realize this is not necessarily for children. Most of the stuff that we've talked about, I would not consider child appropriate necessarily.
Depending on the age of the child, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some of them, like there's one on Netflix right now called 7 Deadly Sins. And it, if you look at it, it's very lighthearted and such. But there's definitely some stuff in there where I'm like, not appropriate for a 5-year-old. Maybe 16. I would actually go 16 at the earliest.
I think that's the case with a lot of really popular anime and manga. I can't think of that many that I would say are appropriate for like elementary school age children.
No, and even some of the ones that I've seen that are like for Japan have been, made for like 6-year-old and elementary school children. Like there's one called Sugar Snow Fairy. There's a couple of parts where I'm just like, okay, the storyline's great and all, but that one character is, dirty old Manning, a little much for an elementary school anime for me.
Yeah, I have, little grandkids, and it's amazing how different it is, like, to like, okay, I can watch this, and like, where's that age, all those gray areas, and like, when should you really be watching this as a kid? And it's so different based, I think, on the kid.
That is also very true. And we will explore that when we get back from the break. You're listening to KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Welcome back to AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. You're tuned into Atheist Talk, and I'm your host, Tertzy Hertz. In studio, we're talking to Maddie, and via Skype, we are talking to Luciano. This is our final segment with Luciano and Maddie. If you're curious about Minnesota Atheists, you can check out the Minnesota Atheist website. We have previous episodes. You can browse articles, book reviews, peruse the calendar of links to upcoming events. We always have a ton of activities going around the Twin Cities and the outlying suburbs. Please keep your eye on the Facebook and Twitter and our meetup page for more information. If you enjoy the show and all that Minnesota Atheist has to offer, consider becoming a member of Minnesota Atheist while you're on the website. Membership has some great perks. Check out the hows and the whys on the website. And now back to our conversation with Luciano and Maddie.
So I have a question as somebody who's both ignorant of like a lot of anime stuff and somebody who thinks it would be fun to like maybe start picking up a series or something. Where would I go to watch any of this? Do I have to like I don't know. I guess I don't even know where to start.
So my response would be to pick something up on Netflix. Netflix is a bunch of I don't know if they have too many religious like manga or anime on their site, but I know that they have a bunch of really popular animes that you could watch. One example I can think of that I know is on Netflix is One Punch Man, which is one of my favorites, but it's nothing at all to do with religion.
Oh my gosh, that one is so good.
Well, I mean, while having to do with religion is, I guess what we're kind of talking about today. At the same time, like I was just curious about okay, I don't know, where do I even start?
Yeah, I agree with Luciano. Definitely starting with Netflix. They have a great series. They have a lot of great series. One of my favorite. I am a fan of One Punch Man. Have they said that they're going to be doing a second series of that?
Yep.
Yes.
They actually released the trailer. I think not even 3 days ago.
Oh, sweet! Because it's just one season right now.
Yeah.
And the premise is great. It's about what happens when a superhero gets bored. I mean,
so good.
It's so good.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
The big site for anime watching, if you want to see just about any anime that's ever been produced, is probably Crunchyroll. And that's something that a lot of YouTubers are paid to advertise, but it's also something that's true. Like Crunchyroll is kind of the place to go if you want to watch anime.
Is it like a Netflix-y kind of thing? Like do I just pay a subscription and?
Yeah. I don't think it's that much though. I don't think because I think it's actually pretty decently priced. If you're into it, I would definitely say I agree with Luciano. Start with the Netflix. 7 Deadly Sins is another good one to look at. And Black Butler, because those are just so good. Anyways, but then if you really start getting into it, Crunchyroll is a good one to move towards.
I watch most of my TV shows when I'm on break at work. That's where I get most of my TV time. So I really like shows that are less than 25 minutes. Just saying.
Oh yeah, most
animes are only 25-minute episodes. I can think of a handful of exceptions, but those are very rare.
Yeah, there is one exception that if you do start really enjoying it, and this one has a great plot. It's more like a miniseries because the episodes are 45 minutes long. Is Daughters of Menominee. I think that's how
Menominee, Wisconsin.
I know it's I'm pretty sure I'm saying it wrong.
We're gonna go milk some cows.
I'm gonna Google that one because I've never heard of that, but I'm gonna check it out later.
Oh,
just said Wisconsin anime is really where it's at.
Okay, now I'm definitely sure I said it.
It's utterly the best.
It's oh god, stop it with the cheesy puns. It's grating my nerves.
Another really good site if you hear about an anime that you want to watch but you don't know where to watch it and you want to check it out first is YouTube. Mm-hmm. If you know the name of the anime, I can guarantee you if you put it on YouTube, you'll be able to find little clips.
Yep, or anime music videos. Oh, those are so cool. It's like people will take a song and they'll take clips of their favorite anime show or shows, depending, and they'll smush them together. I've seen it done with sci-fi shows too. One of my favorites is looking at Holding Out for a Hero and just the various heroes that they've used. I saw one that was nothing but heroines. That was awesome. It ended with Hermione throwing a punch.
I love it.
Yes. I saw another one where they did it. So have you seen the Ragnarok? Thor Ragnarok?
Thor? Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So that one really cool scene towards the end, somebody did a Holding Out for a Hero, and it lines up really well.
Nice.
I've actually seen that one. Yeah, that one I've seen.
They don't do the whole song. It's a clip, but it's still just this is the best thing ever. I'll send you a link, Maddie.
I will look forward to it.
There's actually an anime song from My Hero Academia, which is one of my favorite animes or mangas of all time. There's a song called, I think, Jet Set Run. Yeah, it's Jet Set Run, and people dub it over pretty much every anime fight, and it works extremely well.
Oh, yes. Anime fights are the best choreography. Well, partially because they don't have to worry about stunts or things like that.
You don't have to worry about camera angles, and
you don't have to worry about destroying buildings.
Did the actors train properly before they started doing this? Is this so it's not like Iron Fist season 1?
No.
That was terrible.
I heard it was metallic. No, that was bad. That was.
And yet I loved it anyway.
I kind of really liked that pun, even though I know that was a bad pun.
I think we covered this ground before, though. All puns are bad.
Well, like, I feel like even among bad puns, that one was just kind of there.
Yeah, that one should not have existed. My apologies.
Just much like Iron Fist Season 1.
You kind of have to respect when a pun is so bad that even the people who make it are like,
Oh, that is so many. That's very analogous though to Iron Fist Season 1. Like, it was really bad, and everybody should have avoided it, and yet it still got put out there anyway.
God, I actually tried watching that one.
So did I.
I
honestly, so did I.
The problems of poor rich white people.
I know.
Poor thing.
And it was the entire time I'm going, this would be so much easier if you just talked. Yes. If you said the words you need to say, but no, you cannot say these words. I cannot.
Or if you go through an entire sentence without saying, I am the immortal Iron Fist.
I don't think I got that far. I seriously, I got to the part where he got to where he was going to start working in the dojo or something like that.
Oh, he would say that like all the time though, like every other sentence when he's, no, I'm not just Danny Rand. Oh, I'm sorry.
And we kind of went off the rails, but that's all right. Most animes do anyway. At some point, especially if they go on long. But thank you for tuning into Atheist Talk. We'd love to have you join us again next Sunday, which should be an exciting episode where we're going to have some geneticists come talk to us about the recent stuff going on there and some of the news that came in from China not recently. I'm proud to be on the air with Minnesota Atheists. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend.